All right, let's try this step. So I'm one of the founders of AudioStack, and we'll host this wonderful event today. Thank you to number 8 for hosting this with us. Thank you very much, you guys. Said already the applause. Yeah, okay, yeah, and not a bit more serious. So thank you very much for coming out there. It's the first day of the Combined. I heard for a lot of you, it's also the first time here, including myself. So we're very, very excited. It's a very beautiful part of the world, and you chose to be with us. So thank you very much. Must admit, it's not hard because we have an awesome lineup today, and we're going to talk about audio, one of my favorite things. So I understand why you're here. With AudioStack, so we're all about making audio production scalable with the help of AI. We can tell you all about it, but not now, because he brought a lot of cool people actually to give some interesting topics, interesting angle, but we're going to make it very short. Can I have everybody in the AudioStack team raise their hands? So we are happy to tell you all about it later. So just find one of us. And also number 8, if you want to raise your hands as well. It's also make sure you talk to these guys. All right, but without further ado, I want to start the panel. So we have 2 panels. Actually, with so many interesting things to discuss and so many interesting people that wanted to be with us. We started with 1 panel, now we have 2. In the first one, we want to actually talk about self-service advertising. And we got a fantastic lineup. We're just going to go really quick on when you all have the opportunity to introduce yourself. So we have from DanAds, we have Johan, my practice it, Liljelund, right there. Okay, so DanAds, no, real Swedes out there, you know where to go. And then we have Joe Copeman, hello, from Acast, and then we have Hunsaker from Triton. All right, cool. And I want to tell you a little bit about why these guys are here. So first of all, DanAds has been tackling self-service advertising for a very long time now. We've been working with DanAds for quite some time, and these guys are all about actually making self-service advertising happening for a lot of companies. Awesome tech. And super excited to have you on here. And actually, let's start with you. You want to introduce yourself and also tell you about what you guys do?
Absolutely. DanAds, Swedish-founded company, self-serve advertising. We have been talking about this for 11 years. We are, I would say, without blushing, because I am Thunberg, the global leader when it comes to self-serve advertising. So we work with clients like Disney, Roku, TripAdvisor, etc. So we are white label enterprise. You don't see DanAds anywhere. We are in the behind scenes. We support any type of media, but of course, through the partnership with the AudioStack, we can basically democratize audio advertising and open it up for a much bigger market than previously has not been able to do so.
Super, thanks. Great, and then we have Joe Copeman from Acast, and also tried the quick intro here. So Acast has been actually pioneering self-service advertising in podcasts. So I think you guys started 2022, which in podcast time scales is a decade and a half about, and you've already done some very cool things. So
that's right. Yeah. So Acast is 10 years old. We host and monetize 120,000 podcasts globally with publishers like the BBC, Economist, Guardian, heaps of independents, comedians, etc. We introduced our self-serve offering back in 2022. Which seems like a long time ago now, and no, it's not. It's only 2 years. And it was very much a phased rollout. Phase 1 was building a tool that allowed advertisers and agencies to go on and discover podcasts, plan campaigns. I was really lead generation at that point. You enter it, and then a member of the sales teams come back and talks to you and hopefully sells your campaign. Then the second part was actually planning and buying ads. What I mean by ads is the 30-second spots. And the third part, most recently, is planning and buying sponsorships, which is host reads. And as you can imagine, that has more complexities, which I'm sure we'll cover later. So, we do that. 2 years, still learning. Heaps to do still, lots of different customers who are enjoying it now. So it's a really exciting area.
Great, thanks. And last but not least, Ember from Triton. So Ember was part of Jelly, I believe, which was quite a Triton, which actually became part of iHeart. And you guys found a very interesting thing. So you actually did self-service already for iHeart for quite some time, and are revamping that now.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it.
Is this on? Okay, great. So Triton is an ad tech SSP company. We help publishers monetize and optimize their processes. So we operate in 80 plus different countries, and we're starting to think about kind of the next phase, and that is unlocking self-source audio and continuing to make it easier for publishers to get new buyers and existing buyers to easily transact with their inventory.
Great, wonderful. Yeah, so I think you guys bring a lot of learnings in the area actually, what we get a lot of requests actually for self-serve advertising. Always the story goes in mostly that someone has figured out the game. Normally it's Meta and Facebook who actually made it incredibly easy to spend money, in ads, and that moment hasn't come yet in audio, right? So I guess you probably have the most general view on things because you guys know all the channels and pretty much know all the formats. What I kind of like your learnings in the space, like how can you lower actually that threshold and make it easy for people to spend money?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we are not just audio, so we do anything. But I think in speaking about Meta and Google, I think what we see driving self-serve in general is that advertisers today, they want to engage in a trusted environment, and that is not what you normally get with Meta and Google. So I think that the problem is that the doors has been locked for the ones that hasn't, the really big wallets. And I think the self-serve technology allows for companies like, Bloomberg Media or others to actually offer any type of advertising, but specifically audio, since it's a very high cost production product if you compare it to a display or a print ad or something like that. So I think that the trend we see and have seen during the last 2 years is that advertisers want to engage with trusted publishers, and trusted publishers want to know which advertisers and which brands that engaged with their content. And I think those two together, is a good driver for self-serve.
Great. And should we already talk about learnings?
Yeah, from our point of view, it's been great. It's opened up podcast advertising, which is still relatively new to lots of companies out there. So, certainly some smaller businesses who have never even thought about podcast advertising. It lowers the barrier to entry. You can go on, you can understand what a podcast is. I mean, we don't just have the portal to plan and buy. We try and add on there kind of thought leadership pieces and so on, so you can try and solve what your strategy is. Should you be trying to look at ads to build awareness and make an announcement, or should you be aiming to work with a host to have your product or service endorsed? So it's not just purely about transaction, it's about kind of your strategy as well. So that's worked really well. I think the other thing that I find interesting is that it removes bias from both the seller side and the buyer side. So from a buyer side, you might always go for the podcast that you know of, for example, but suddenly coupled with our AI learning and matchmaking capabilities, you might have a whole genre of podcasts or a list of 20, 30, 50 podcasts that you might not have heard of, but they might be better for your brand. And from a seller point of view as well, if you work with our sales teams, quite naturally, they will sometimes choose to work with some podcasters because they know they turn around and host feeds really quickly, or they know of them and they're larger podcasts. So it's actually ensuring that more podcasters get paid and get a share a slice of the revenue available in the market.
That's interesting. Great, yeah. And Amber, you're already on the second version then, pretty much. Like, if you wrap up all the learnings from version 1?
I would say version 1 was a very simple SMB focus. So we tried to make buying audio as easy as possible for someone who's never bought audio before. And there's a lot of benefits to that. But I think as we look at version 1, we're trying to think about similar to how Meta does it, where you have a lot of targeting capabilities, and we want to bring in those targeting capabilities while also maintaining kind of the ease of use. Audio is not a type that people naturally understand when it comes to like how to buy it. So translating it for those buyers and making sure that they understand who the listener is. And audio listeners in general are unique in a certain way. Audio is companionship. Audio listeners tend to be, they tend to listen at the same time every day. There's a lot of benefits to reaching a listener. They're usually listening to a host or a talk show host or someone that they trust, an artist that they trust. So making sure that the ad that you're delivering is targeted not only contextually to the right content they're listening to, but also externally in the right moment. Is it raining outside? There's cool things with weather triggers that you can do to really stay relevant, and we want to make sure that all of those unique targeting capabilities are still accessible in a self-service product.
Great. And if you guys think about who's the perfect target for this? I don't not mean like who should introduce audio advertising, but pretty much who benefits most, or which customer group do you think will be unlocked specifically?
I would say, yeah, this is the small to medium businesses that have never done it before, number one. For us, actually, it was always a bit of a surprise, but podcasters themselves use it to promote their own podcast. So they'll use self-serve to buy advertising promotion across other podcasts as well. And that's all to build an audience so they can monetize further still. And the other customer segment that kind of came into view having built this is resellers. So, we have sales teams in 14 markets around the world. Even though those markets, there might be different customer set we're not talking to, or there might be a different market we're not in. So we can work with any reseller who can use our self-serve product to sell on our behalf as well. So it kind of opens the whole industry up to our podcasting inventory we have.
Yeah, so without, speaking on the behalf of our clients, which are the publishers, I think one thing that we have seen in the US is that the one segment that is interesting, once again, maybe not just for audio advertising, is, the small to mid-sized agencies, which today also have a trouble to navigate. Then what we see from our perspective is that we have two target groups. One, small, basically the buy side, but we also have platforms, or our self-serve platforms, used by internal production teams. So instead of having, so Bloomberg Media, for example, so their self-serve is not external facing. They use it internally to produce audio ads utilizing your technology. And, the time to market is minutes, production cost decreases. So I think that's also a bit of a game changer if we talk about, audio advertising per se. Then if it's a self-serve, if it's internal facing, external facing, doesn't really matter.
Okay, so it unlocks or makes the threshold to work for internal to as well. That's interesting. Okay, Amber?
Well, this is really helpful for me. Building V2 to again, we're always thinking about those SMB users as well, but hearing kind of what you guys say, I think it also shifts marketing budget into the audio space for maybe agencies that haven't fully embraced audio or want to give it a try, or even talk to their advertisers about shifting more budget into the audio space, because there are now these tools that make it so easy. The audio production is there, the connection to the supply is there. I think we can also see, I think SMBs are the big win and the ones to go for, but I also think there'll be a shift that happens as these become available.
Great. Joe, you already dropped the big buzzword of 2023, of 2024, and probably of 2025 and 2026, AI, of course. And you guys also mentioned data. And as much as I would like to talk about AI audio production now, but, interesting angle, how do you think in the data space, much targeting, how do you think, what do you think AI, but also more advanced data capabilities, how does that play into your plans when it comes to self-serve?
Yeah, it comes in a number of ways. There's many different things we can do in America that we can do in Europe for different laws and so on. I think in terms of targeting, for example, we can use first-party data in America. We have conversational targeting, so we scrape and transcribe all the podcasts, every single episode, and then can serve ads next to conversations as well. So that's a big part of kind of AI, machine learning, matchmaking audiences. We know what the brief is. We can use AI. We have a company called Podchaser, and they have all types of data about different shows all around the world. So we can matchmake audiences using AI there as well. But it's not just for buyers. We have our podcasters. They use AI to polish the sound of podcasts so they sound crisp and they take out background noise and so on. They research subject matters so they can spend more time making great content. So AI supports all stakeholders in this in different ways. So it's very much here for us to embrace and learn how to work better with it. So it's it's an exciting time.
Thank you for circling back to the production element. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
Ever in terms of targeting.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll take a different angle around this and talk about like the supply side. And there's some unique things that we've seen in AI that I think are just starting to be talked about. And that's being able to look at really quickly all of the ad content that's going through a publisher and start to flag things and start to gather metadata about the types of ads that are being aired on their stations. And it creates a really great way to flag things, for example, a language that's on a station that maybe doesn't support that language, or an IAB category where the buyer says it's retail, but really the content is gambling. So those things can easily be flagged, and it gives the publisher a really great way to attack it head on really quickly, and also help them come to the marketplace saying, hey, we've put in tools in place and we've used AI to make sure that your brand's going to be safe and that our content has a really high standard when it comes to the types of content that's airing on it.
Great. Sure.
Yeah, I think once again from our side, since we are not the publisher, so we don't have any inventory by ourselves, we enable this. But I think AI, of course, is a way that makes the user experience of someone who wants to create an ad a much more seamless experience. I mean, once again, we don't do anything, we rely solely on your technology, but I think that's, once again, when it comes to the audio creation, we chase you guys with stuff, new features, we get requests. I think in general, when it comes to AI and audio, I think, tapping to what you said about the safety, self-service is about automation, so we want to mitigate or remove as much of manual work needed. The technical validation is done today, so we know that if it goes beyond this point, then we can serve it technically. We still don't know if it's brand safe. I think that's an area where we want to do more, or I think what we need to do more to take the load off our clients, because they need to have a team sit and listen and approve and do all of that.
I'd follow up with that and say, you're right, we don't rely on AI. We don't want to rely on AI. We still have a small team who oversee the whole self-serve product. And when they see there's a need to step in and help, or they have new ideas, then of course we'll talk to the client and do that. So AI will become more and more apparent in our business, but we still have a team of absolute professionals who understand what's best for a customer and super serve them the best we can as well. I think it's important to say.
Great. And that's a very interesting angle as well, in terms of as soon as you start self-serve, you also have a host of RAM that you kind of need supervision for whatever you offer, right? So, I can ask another 15 questions about this, but do we still have time? Do we still have time for 5 minutes? Perfect. Do we have a question from you guys before I ask another 10 questions then? Any question? Anyone? Any comments as well?
Live events and things like that. How, I'm quite new to that audio stuff, but is there an opportunity for you guys to utilize AI in a live environment, say, if it's sporting events and stuff like that? Is there even the live concept in that to show this as the talent?
So questions around live events in terms of using technology for live events.
Yeah, good question. Live has become much more a thing in podcasting. We were just talking a minute ago about both ends of the spectrum. On one hand, we've got the 30-second audio ads, which use data and targeting, and you can create an ad in very various different ways, buy it programmatically and so on. On the other side, Acast could be seen as an agency of talent. We work very closely with our creators, and beyond the podcast, there is social, there's video, there's live events. We do heaps of work, and this is the big money partnerships that work incredibly well and can win awards and so on. How we use AI in that, I guess you could look at researching these themes. There's breaking to where it comes into it. But yeah, from a podcast point of view, with creators, live is becoming larger and larger. I think we'll hit more of that in the coming years as well, for sure.
So I think my reflection a bit to the concept of live is more that something that also that can happen in real time. So you need to adapt, right? So I mean, a lot of our platforms are global, which means that, you know, if you want to run an ad for, let's say, a hotel chain on TripAdvisor, you don't want to sit and record, you know, 24 different audio ads in all the different languages. So I think that's if I'm heard right, that's something that, you know, potentially could come also from. So you create one, and then depending on the targeting, you know, where will it serve, it's, you know, it's compliant with that region. So I think that part is something that is very interesting from the sub-serve perspective.
Yeah, and to bounce off of that, we actually built something like this when states were opening up for COVID. So you could trigger an ad based off of how open a market was. If it was fully open, tell them to go to the store. If it was partially open, tell them to shop online, stuff like that. So all of those things are built in. But the challenge we found with those is exactly what you said. If it sounds really cool and when sales goes to market, people love it. But when it comes to practice and they realize that you have to have a creative for each scenario, then it becomes a really big lift. So that's why it's really exciting in talking to Timo and AudioStack and all of the things is just the fact that within seconds you can have an ad that targets a bunch of different markets and says the market's name, or can use third-party data to do things like I mentioned, sports outcomes, stuff like that, to really be super relevant and dynamic depending on what's happening.
We have time for one word. Charlie?
Looking at demand from SMEs, what type of small businesses are they looking for audio solution? Are they that hairdressers, builders?
So questions around demand of SMEs, like what kind of SMEs are looking for a solution?
I actually don't know. I have no clue. Well, yeah, since I could look in our platforms and see, you know, where they come from. I think it's it's a legacy thing. I mean, I think that the barrier, I assume, you know, probably way better than I do, you don't think that you can create an audio ad, right? I think if you're a publisher, you need to inform the market, and I think that's a challenge or an opportunity.
Yeah, I'd love to as well. So more clarity. So we've been open for kind of lead generation and these companies to approach us, and every time a lead comes in, it drops into a Slack channel that I'm on. But because it's been just so many approaches the whole time, I've got to be honest, I don't look at it often now. So I don't know exactly how many leads come in from different sectors, but it is completely across different sectors. You know, small tech companies. Can't be cool seeing a hairdresser in there. Not to say it doesn't, but it could be a butcher's. I don't know, but heaps of them. And the beauty is they can spend $200, $500, and that's kind of just testing it out. And for that, they know exactly what they're going to get. You know, you get a certain number of impressions. You know, it will be distributed evenly between the first day and say the 10th day of the campaign or whatever the campaign length is. So there's a lot of security and understanding how it works best for them. And proof in the pudding is that they tend to come back. That's our key KPI. You know, do they return and spend more? And generally the answer is yes.
Yeah, when we built the first version in the US, it was all across the board. A surprising amount of dentist office, like you wouldn't expect. We had like a trampoline, and like an escape room. It was all over. A lot of like auto shop, anything that we were just marketing it globally. And then anyone who heard the ad, the power of ads right here. Anyone who heard the audio ad could just go in and create an account and start building an ad. Exactly what you said, starting at like $200. So yeah, it was all across the board, but all local based.
Cool. Great. Thank you very much. I have one very short question to wrap it all up. So if everybody here in the room just wants to get started, wants to get a glimpse of it, what's the easiest thing to have a look at DanAds and like the smallest thing that they could do right now, right here, tonight, tomorrow, end of this week? Something like that.
Wow. We can send out the things.
Call the sales team.
Yes. Wow. There are only a few platforms. If you're Arabic speaking, you can go to the largest broadcaster in Arabic, and there you can buy radio ads with AI generated Arabic audio ads, which actually is pretty cool.
All right, great. Sure.
Yeah, if you're interested, hop on to Acast.com. You'll find it a very easy, simple, user-generated experience. It's just easy to navigate. So enjoy it. Check it out. If all feedback, let me know. I'd love to know.
So for Ember.
Awesome. And then if the Triton folks could raise their hand. Awesome. These are your guys. But if there is anything on the like self-service audio side, I'd love to discuss that more, creative elements as we start to think about the future.
Super amazing. Thank you so much. So we're gonna take, I think, a 5-minute break right now, and then actually Silke is gonna actually host the next panel. Before we go there, I want to have a massive applause for your wonderful panel. Thank you so much.
So, you know, I still worship. Like, I like the way the fun and